Welcome to our live. If anyone's out there, maybe just comment and let us know where you're coming from, where you're watching from.
Where are you talking to me from?
I am in Cape Town.
Oh, okay. How's the weather there today?
Surprisingly hot.
Really? It's been cold, hasn't it?
Yeah, like winter was lost. Summer was lost and winter overstayed its welcome. And
Okay.
even Monday, it was raining. So now today is hot.
It's hot here today, but it's the same. But every other day we have a thunderstorm. It's raining, there's thunder.
It's very weird, eh?
Don't get me wrong, it's beautiful, it's green, the dams are filling up, but it's just so temperamental. The weather is just like you don't know. In the morning you can wake up and it's really cold, and by the afternoon it's so hot. You literally dress in layers and keep taking off as the day goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very weird. It's so weird. And you're from Kimberley, right?
I was born in Cape Town.
Oh, in Cape Town, yeah.
We moved to Kimberley when I was, I think, 6 years old. My parents' family is from Kimberley.
Oh, all right.
So we moved there, and then when I was 10, we left South Africa.
Oh, all right. And then you went to England, is it?
We went to Belgium.
Belgium.
For, I think 3 years we lived in Belgium. And then from Belgium, then we went to Manchester, to England, yeah.
Oh, wow. So you've really been traveling.
Oh, yeah. When we were young, we traveled quite a bit. It was really nice. I think one of the best things you can ever do for a child is let them see the world, because we become so indoctrinated in our everyday lives, and it just, there's so much that happens, just at home. So if you never see other cultures or other countries or how they work, it's very hard to make or even have a conversation with other people, because the content is not there. But when you traveled, I always feel like when you traveled, you can have so much more to say, because you've seen it, you've done it, you've lived it,
yeah.
And you can contribute to society and conversations in a more, I'm trying to think of the word, more productive way, should I say.
I agree with you. So I say I have no extent. My parents are from Malawi, but I'm from Joburg. But until high school, I was in Joburg, and it felt like Joburg was enough. I was like, I don't need to go anywhere else because Joburg is enough. This is the world to me. But once I left, I'm like, wow, there's so much out there.
Yeah,
okay.
It is a lot. You don't actually realize what the world is like. Growing up as a young Muslim girl in South Africa, it's so different than being a young Muslim girl growing up in Belgium or in England. The culture is so different. There's so many different things in terms of, even from a religious point of view, being Muslim, it was just such an eye-opener of the different kind of Muslim people you can meet.
Yeah.
That was really good for me.
All right. So just to say, so we've got Nabila from Cape Town that's joined in. Courtney is from Joburg, but also living in Cape Town. Nabila says she loves the curls. Farah.
Oh, nice. I'm getting tired. They're gonna go soon. Yeah.
Oh, is it? Are you one of those that you're always chopping your hair?
Yeah, like I'm growing it or chopping it or doing something. But yeah,
same with me.
I'm one of those people that I don't know. Like I don't have tattoos. So I think maybe my hair is that expression. It's been every length, every color. I've done everything with it. So I think it's just one of those things.
And we've got Zinhle, who's from Eastern Cape. Farah, you're an inspiration, girl power. Thank you so much for the comments, guys. So we are here today because we want to talk to Farah because she has immense experience in PR, an entrepreneur. She's an multi-award-winning businesswoman, and there's so much we can learn from her. And especially because at Feenix, we believe in the power of entrepreneurship. We want to encourage students to be entrepreneurs and have an entrepreneurial mindset. And this helps them with the way they are fundraising for their fees on the platform. And we also think entrepreneurs are the future of our country. I mean, like the unemployment stats that were released, I think, several weeks ago, and we see youth unemployment is growing, and it's like so high. And we can fix this is entrepreneurship. And I know this is also something that you believe in, because I think I saw some interview where you said entrepreneurs are the future in how we are going to grow our economy and to create jobs.
I mean,
content what we're talking about today.
I mean, definitely, I definitely think that entrepreneurship is the way forward, because it's one of those things when you want to do, you want to do it. And but I just want to get out there that not being an entrepreneur doesn't mean you failed at life. Not everybody's meant to be an entrepreneur. And in all honesty, entrepreneurship is extremely hard, very mentally taxing. It takes a lot from you as a person, and you have to be very resilient in that sense. If you know that you don't have that in you, don't force it from yourself. It doesn't mean you failed. It just entrepreneurship is not for you. I think people use entrepreneurship as a level of success, when most of the entrepreneurs that we know are very successful but still broke, because entrepreneurship is a constant cycle of basically, recycling money in different parts of your life and getting several streams of income coming through. It's really important that people understand that working and having a 9-to-5 does not mean that you failed. I mean, doctors don't necessarily work 9-to-5, but that's a career. It's not an entrepreneurship career. Does that mean you failed if you're a doctor? It's one of those things. And I think a lot of people look at entrepreneurship, like I said, as this really glamorous or this level of success that you've reached in life if you're an entrepreneur. But I don't think people look at the back end of being an entrepreneur. It's the long nights, the fact that you write your own paychecks, but you can also, at the end of the month, write a paycheck that has nothing in it, because now you've got to pay everyone, you've got to pay your bills, and still you've not, made a profit. It takes years. I mean, Spotify was started in 2006 and only turned their first profit in 2019.
And no one tells those stories, hey?
And no one tells those stories, no one hears about it. But look how Spotify is now growing and doing so well, that from a perspective of music downloading, they're becoming one of the streaming platforms that people are going to far above Apple Music or anyone like that, which has been our predominant source of being able to get music, especially on your phone. So I think from that perspective, we need to look, just the algorithms that they use are so different to Apple, and therefore people are getting a better experience. So it's taken them a long time to understand what their niche is as a company, and they've only turned a profit now in 2019. And I mean, you have to understand that that's really what entrepreneurship is like. It's striving consistently and all the time to try and get some sort of profit or to make a business successful. So yes, entrepreneurship is great, but I think people need to look at all aspects of it before they actually get involved, because I always say this, entrepreneurs are a little bit crazy. Like, you literally have to be a little bit crazy to want to be an entrepreneur, because it takes a lot out of you. It genuinely can drive you insane. So yeah, that little bit of crazy does come in handy sometimes.
So what do you think then of the side hustle? Do you think that would then be for someone who wants to maybe test the waters, or where do you think that lies in with everything?
I think, if one, as an entrepreneur, if you have one form of business, you're not really an entrepreneur. You always have to have, even as an entrepreneur, you have to have a side hustle kind of thing. So the several streams of income is not a myth. Like, you have to grow enough to be able to buy into things that are an investment that will make money for you when your main interests are stood still. So for instance, if you what's the one thing people will always want? Food, right? So say for instance, you are an entrepreneur and you love doing events, but in a time of COVID, events are, it's hard to do. The social distancing aspect is really hard to put into place. Just as people, we don't listen, therefore doing events is really, really hard. And in all instances, you could get shut down. So having events is really hard during this time of COVID. So it means you probably won't make any money. So look at the industries that we always going to want. What are we always going to want? We're always going to want food. Look into those aspects of how do we provide food, as whether it be raw foods, cooked foods, food delivery, any kind of aspect that will take care of that is a guaranteed income. Look at those instead and take money from your other interests and invest in something like that, because you always need to look at what are your avenues should something else not work.
Yes.
And being a true entrepreneur means having a side hustle. So if you have a 9-to-5 and you want to test the waters as an entrepreneur, yeah, sure. But you also need to understand that it's going to take so much out of you by doing that. So whether you have a side hustle or whether you have a side hustle as an entrepreneur, whether you have a side hustle as a 9-to-5er, it's going to take it out of you. You're going to have to work more than just the 9-to-5. And also people who work 9-to-5, I don't even really think they work 9-to-5. So many people take work home these days.
Yes, yeah.
There's so much stress that they sit with when they get home and how they feel. So are we really working 9-to-5 anyway?
That's definitely true. And I think one of the things that I feel is that many people want the lifestyle, or they think there's a lifestyle entrepreneurs have, which they think is all glamour and glitz. They don't know the heartache, the pain, the hunger that goes with it.
Yes.
Yeah. So Ronelle asked, what do you say to those who want to start a community-based business but are subject to extortion from gangs or others?
I think, if you're in a situation like that, there's always going to be somebody that's going to want something from you, whether it's gangs, whether it's whatever. I think you always need to look at your avenues of how do you take that equation out there? Is it possible? Do you take your business out of the area that it's in? Or do you deal with the problem within your area? And if that's the case, how do you do that? What is your solution? For instance, if your thing is gangs, can you go to the police? Probably not, because our police, unfortunately, are not the best in things like that. So how do you build a business maybe in your community that you can then take out of the community in order to get interest? Or bring outside interest into the community. And when I say that, I'm like, go to your local newspaper. If it's a community-based business, tell them what you're doing and ask them for some publicity on it so that so other people can see what you're doing and maybe come in and help, volunteer, or donate. And in that sense, you can now start collecting all these little pieces of publicity and going to bigger newspapers and bigger avenues of media. And the more interest you get, the harder it is going to be for people to get involved or interfere with your business. Yes, it's a lot of hard work and it sometimes doesn't sound possible, but I have been in these situations where maybe it's not necessarily gangs, but it's, even from an industry perspective, you always have gatekeepers.
Yeah,
so now you've got to figure out, how do you get around that? How do you still make it work? I truly believe if you want something to work, you'll find a way to make it work. Yes, it won't be easy. Yes, it'll take a lot of your time and it may take some money, but there's always a way around it. If it's also, go to your local, MECs, ask them for help to get involved. If it's a case of people trying to extort you, you need to try and take as much of the legal route as possible. But you also need to know that if you're doing something for the community, eventually the community will step up if it benefits them.
Right. I hope that answered your question, Ronelle, and that's a great answer. I think I'm going to take it back a bit. For someone who does not know who you are, can you please tell us a bit about yourself? And also the students who are watching might be interested in knowing how you became who you are and where you are now.
Well, first and foremost, I'm a mom of a 15-year-old that lives in my house rent-free. She is probably the reason I have and do everything that I do. And then I'm a businesswoman. I own a company called African Stock Communications, and I also own an NPO called the Pad Run. So with African Stock Communications, it was started in 2008. And we've been a female-owned agency in terms of female-owned and female-run agency. We've never hired men in the agency. It's always been women in every position, and most of the time, women that are not necessarily trained in PR, but we trained them in the specific fields, and they've gone on to other positions that have done great things, and some of them gone on to own their own businesses, which is really what the aim is. I also own an NPO that provides sanitary wear and menstruation education to the youth and young adults. And that's pretty much what I do. But I guess a lot of what people know me for is originally I started my business in celebrity PR and predominantly worked within hip hop. And I worked with AKA and Casper, and I think people predominantly know me for those two. I've worked with numerous other artists, but those two names always come up. And I think it was because I worked with them in helping mold their careers for where they are now. And I'm very privileged to have been able to do that. And they help, as much as I helped them with their careers, they helped me with mine. So it's been a privilege, working with both of them. From there, we went on to start a corporate side of the business and an event management side, as well as a social media side. But I think, a lot of the work I also do is within the female empowerment field. And that has been, for me, my most important work. The talks, the work that I do, ensuring that from a mentorship position, from the campaigns I've worked on, it's all been about making sure that women work in the company has been women. So I've been very grateful. I've won a multitude of awards in terms of the work that I've done in the field of either PR or women empowerment, or just, I guess, fighting to make sure women get an equal chance. And at the end of the day, we all want to leave our mark on the world, and I'm very grateful that, even though it might not be the biggest footprint, at least there's a toe in there. And for me, that I always feel like if you can change or you can help at least one person, I think your purpose on earth is really, being fulfilled. And that's really important for me, because I have a daughter, and I want if people meet her and she tells them who her mom is, that she's proud of, who I am. I don't want to leave her with something that's really hard to live up to, but I want her to believe that it was for her.
Yes. All right. That's very beautiful. So women empowerment is very important to you.
Yes. Very.
And it's
I think it's just because, sorry, I think it's important to me because as a woman growing up, I wasn't a very nice woman to other women. And it took me a long time to learn new habits and understand what I was doing to myself and to other women. And it was such a long journey, but an eye-opening one, of how I treated and spoke about other women, and the words and the language that I used. And once I realized that, I was like, can you imagine if we all just worked together and understood the power that we had, how we could actually change it? So if I can get involved in this and I can help women understand this power that we have, maybe we'll see more of a change in the world. But again, it's an unlearning process. We brought up to not like each other, to look each other up and down when we walk into a room. We
compete against each other.
Brought up to compete with each other. And I just, it was very harsh, eye-opening time for me as a person, because you don't want to think that you're that person, but to realize that is something that I think was good for me, and it helped me understand how I needed to do my bit in this.
Okay. I mean, like, that's amazing, because there are people who never reach that point where they realize that they need to do better.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's a personal choice. It's
Yeah.
a thing that you see or you don't see. I mean, it's something I'm still learning every day. I'm not saying I'm perfect at it, but I do my best to make sure that I'm there for my fellow women. When women
Yeah.
need me, when I need my voice, I have a bit of a profile. So when my voice is needed to fight for another woman, I don't mind using it. It's fine. But you know, I just want to make sure that everybody understands that you might think that you like other women, but sometimes you just need to think, okay, this is not really the definition of liking another woman. Being nice to her for 5 seconds and then going and talking behind her back the next. And we're all guilty of it. All of us have done that. I don't care what anybody, we've all done it.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
we need to get out of that habit of doing. But again, it's a learning thing. It's a complete unlearning and relearning of how to be supportive to the next woman in your life.
All right. So talking about learning, I'm just wondering, your education.
Yeah.
Can we talk a bit about your university? I know that you worked multiple jobs to pay off your university fees. Maybe just talk to us about what education means to you and what your education journey was like.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I love education. I think it's extremely important, but I think there's also a huge overemphasis on putting education on people who are not academic. And when I say that, I feel like if you're a creative, going to school and learning accounting is going to stifle you. You're going to hate it. And you're doing it predominantly because we come from, I mean, I'm a colored woman. We come from colored and black homes and Indian homes where education is everything. And should you not have a degree, who are you? Are you worth anything?
Yeah.
That kind of
and you need to be an accountant or a lawyer.
Exactly. And we grow up with that mentality because we think, our parents think that's, you know, that's what we should be, and these are the people we should be. But sometimes we really do our kids a disjustice, or an injustice, should I say? Sorry, my terrible English today. Just by putting this pressure on them to be these academics that they're not, and maybe they're the best actor they've ever been, or the best ballet dancer you've ever seen. But education is important, yes, but you've got to make sure that you want to be educated. Don't force the education if it's not for you. If it's something you want to fall back on, fine. For me, education, I guess, was important because I always knew what I wanted to do, but I always felt like I needed something to fall back on. I wasn't sure. And I studied law, and I didn't finish my last year because I just knew that this is not what I wanted to do. And then I went and I studied PR. Yeah.
Don't you think maybe there is a way that somehow that law, the foundation, is sort of has helped you come as far as you have?
Definitely. I mean, everything I learned there, don't get me wrong, the learnings were definitely great. And in terms of debating skills and how I understand things, definitely. There's the way law teaches you, it gives you a specific skills, I think, in the logic department, because you are forced to think not by emotion but by logic and fact only. And I think that is something that I'm very grateful for. Don't get me wrong. Do I want to study further? Yeah, I'm going back and I'm studying next year. Great.
Oh, really? That's great. What are you studying?
I'm going to study a woman and gender studies.
Oh, beautiful.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So I mean, for me, it's important to always educate myself, but I just feel like the forcing of it, I don't want anyone to be in that position, because I've seen what it's like. And I mean, even when I was at uni, people who were studying law that had no interest to be there, but they were doing it because their parents were forcing. And it was hard for them. It was really hard for them because they didn't want to be there. It was so mentally taxing. It's not, if you don't enjoy it, it's very hard, because literally law is learning dates and having to memorize those kind of, it's literally dates and cases. That's how you get through law school. And if
Yeah,
you don't have
definitely.
that in you, I mean, it can kill you. Look at what it takes to become a doctor. You're gonna do all of that because your parents said you must be a doctor. Yes, education is extremely important. I truly believe that having something behind you to fall back on should you need it, because at the end of the day, we all have bills to pay, is really, really important. But I think, one, you should study something you truly enjoy. If you're going to go
Yeah,
to further education from school, please study something you truly enjoy. And if you're going to make sure that, and if you're going to study something that maybe you don't have enjoy, but it's maybe something you have to because of the family, try and at least look for the fun in uni. Look for the fun in what you can from the course, because somewhere in there you will learn something. You will
yeah,
learn something. It
definitely.
will be a life skill. There will be something that comes from it. I just never want, I think I'm so pedantic about making sure that it's, people are really happy ultimately in the end. And I always said to my daughter, just, it doesn't matter what you want to be in life, just please make sure that you're happy. And since she's
Yeah,
been like 8, 9 years old, she's about to be 16. She's only ever wanted to be a forensic anthropologist. She spent her entire life studying to make sure that she picks the courses in high school that leads to that degree. And she's
wow.
picked out her
Focus.
uni. Like, she's so focused. She's picked out her uni. She wants a year off after she finishes school, and then she'll go to uni. And she's picked out where she wants to go. And everything has been about that, and great. But if she wanted to be a hairdresser, great. If she wanted to be a dancer, great too. I just think that, people need to have the choice in life, because our lives are so short. Like, the point is, be happy. Be
Yeah,
happy.
yeah,
Even if it's in
definitely.
education, work, whatever, be happy in it.
Yeah, because I think there is that stress. Because, for example, I did my undergraduate degree in media communication and culture,
Yeah.
and my mom was like, "Why don't you be a lawyer? Like, you can
Oh.
do it. You can." And I'm like, "It's not that I can't do it. I don't want to." So I think that's like a mindset that we need to change. And I think also what's also important is, I think, for people who want to study to be able to study. I think there's
Yes.
nothing worse than having stifled growth just because of money. I think that's one of my, and Phoenix, that's what we believe in. Like, just like we don't want people like abandon dreams just because of money being the
Yeah.
reason why people can't go.
No,
Yeah,
definitely. I mean, I think a lot more. I feel a lot more people abandon their university dreams because of money rather than not wanting to go. I think
yeah,
everybody ultimately does want to go and have something behind, and especially in the cultures that we come from us, even from just an African point of view, the focus on education in Africa has always been a big thing. It's never been
yeah,
something we've kind of just let lapse. It's always been finish school, go to uni, and get a great job, and take care of yourself and take care of your family, and make sure that you're financially self-sufficient. But just make sure it's something that you enjoy. I always feel like if you're doing something you enjoy, your life just feels better, and you just make more money, and
yeah.
everything is it's just better for you. Happiness is a huge contributor.
You say that you don't particularly get people who studied PR, but so how do you choose? Do you choose based on attitude?
I think, since the company started, everyone that's ever worked there has, I don't think, ever just been interviewed by me. It's always been a group effort from the company. Everybody gets to interview you, so it can be a little bit intimidating walking in 5 women interviewing you for a job, but I'm not the one who works with you directly every day. So I don't think it's really my choice of whether you work in a company. It's the people that you're going to have to deal with on a daily basis and see on a daily basis that should really get to choose who comes into the company. Because I always feel like if you work with people that you really like, everything just flows easier. So I don't think so. Yes, it's you do pick people on their ability and their skills, but I don't think someone's qualification can determine whether they can write a good press release or not. Because I've interviewed people who our interview process is you come in with a written press release, we give you a topic, and I've seen people who have had top grades in their class and couldn't write a press release if it was to save their life. And for me, I feel like you can be trained to do the work if you're willing to learn. In terms of what is learned at university for PR, I do think, yes, go and get the degree. It will help you get into the doors you need to. But if you can, I think what determines what makes you a great publicist is the company you get into. I think the internship that you have and for the proper training really helps in getting people to understand how PR affects your daily life. So I think getting into that, like I said, education is great, and I do thoroughly believe in it. But I feel like it's more than just a degree that helps you become great in your chosen career. It's where you work. It's the people you work with. It's how you feel when you go to work every day. It's who you feel. How you feel about yourself as a person. There's so many aspects to what makes your life run smoothly, and one of those aspects is work. And if you're happy at work, you're happy everywhere else. If you're happy in your relationship, you're happy everywhere. There's always those things that work into each other. So I don't think life is as easy as putting it into boxes as work, relationships, friends, and family kind of thing. It's all about everybody intertwines with the next. And if you can make everything work without too much pressure and putting too much on yourself, and what you expect of yourself, and live in the most ethical way that you can, I think you've topped life.
Okay, so you're talking about PR, and in terms of people you're hiring, I'm watching, and they now need to sell themselves. They need to put their profiles out there to tell people their stories, so that people are compelled to donate to them and to cancel off their fees. How would you suggest how could they use the power of PR?
I think the easiest way to use PR is to use your friends. The people who know you the most are probably your friends, and word of mouth is the best PR you can ever have. If somebody goes to a restaurant and they enjoy the experience and they tweet about it, that word of mouth is everything. And then they go to work the next day and they tell everyone about the great experience they had, and that's another couple of hundred people. Now, it's your word of mouth, your getting people to believe in you is your everything. So when you start a business and it's a side hustle, it's a main hustle, whatever it is, make sure people believe in you, in your product. Because when people get good service, when people get a good product, I could give you hundreds of examples of people or companies that aren't necessarily doing anything original, or aren't necessarily doing anything that's that great, but the customer service is amazing. The product is maybe substandard, but people keep going back because they love dealing with Pamela at the store, or they love the how quick their parcel arrives, 24 hours after they've ordered it online. If you keep giving people the service, the what they come back for, what any consumer comes back for is customer service. If you give people great customer service, it's everything. I was actually having this conversation with someone the other day, and we were sitting somewhere and someone had received bad service in a restaurant, and I said, what people don't realize is that when you receive bad service as a restaurant and you tell the manager, and the manager, it isn't even about getting a free meal or anything, but he does something to rectify your problem, and you feel like you are seen and heard, you will leave that place satisfied, and you'll come back even though you got bad service the first time. The worst thing you can have is somebody walk out of your restaurant and never complain, because now you've lost somebody that will never come back. That one person has told a couple of hundred of other people on their Twitter, or thousands of other people on their Twitter, their Instagram, whatever other social media. They've also gone to work and they've told them about the bad experience. Now you can have a potential of 100 to 5 to 6 to 1,000 people, that aren't going to come to your establishment. So word of mouth is everything when it comes to PR. You can go and have a front page, news article. It doesn't mean people are going to know who you are or see what you're doing. But if somebody says, hey, have you heard of Rebecca? Do you know what she's doing? No, you don't. Hold on. Let me give you a website quickly. And there you go. You've bought something.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
Free advertising. So if you can get people just to like your product, like your service, that's the best PR you can have. But if you're insistent on wanting to see your name or your face in the paper, I would always suggest you start with your local community papers. Local community papers always serve you. Just think of it as an upside down pyramid. Okay, so your local here is your local community papers. They're always going to start, they're going to help you, and from there your community is going to come. Again, exactly what I was speaking of before. You take that article, you go to a bigger publication and say, listen, I had this interview. If you have anything or you have any space, please, I'd really like some publicity for my company, my service, my product, whatever it is. Again, it grows, it grows, it grows, it grows, it grows, it grows. And that's how you end up on the front page of Sunday Times, because you had network, you had service. It's all about time. If you're not prepared to put in the time or the effort to try and grow your profile, it's not going to work. Also, once you do get all these articles, start making files about them, and anything is PRable. You can find a story in anything. I mean, the earrings that you're wearing, I could literally, I don't know where you got them from, but I could say, you know what? You were making these earrings, and you know what? You're from Malawi, your family came here, you're South African, but you make these amazing earrings, and they're showing what your family's been through and the journey that they have. I could put an entire story behind those earrings and sell them, and that's exactly what you need to do. Find the story. Everybody has a story. Everybody has something PRable. If you can find what your story is and what your niche is, you can sell your story.
Now that's beautiful, because on Feenix, on our platform with the students, every student who comes on, they actually create their own story. Like, their profiles are based on a story. We want the students to think of what their story is. What is it that people are investing in?
And that's the thing, as long as you have a story, because people only care about, the thing is, money is not emotional. So people generally don't think or spend with their hearts. They spend with, can I afford it? Should I? But the minute you touch someone's heart, or you connect to them in a way that is like, oh, you come from the same place as me? You're making it here? Oh, great. Like you said, do you remember when you said you came to Joburg and you felt like, oh, I this was all I needed. This is what, this is what was it for me. If you can find someone else that connects with that story, you've instantly got a friend. Then you've instantly got a customer. Yeah. So it's all about connection.
Time has gone so fast, but I've even asked the questions I planned on asking you. I think
it's fine. Go
ahead. What financial options would you recommend for students who wish to pursue entrepreneurship?
I personally would try, and it's not always possible, and I know in our economic climate it's more than not impossible, but saving is always your best option. Your savings first. And I say this because it's easier, once you don't have to pay anyone back, you have no pressure, no investment pressure. But in all honesty, as an entrepreneur, if I can get someone else to invest in me and spend their money instead of spending mine, I'm going for that option. However, you need to understand the pressures that come with it, the interest rate that you're going to pay back, and what you now are obligated to for this person. There are so many avenues you can go. Go to look at the NYDA. They're really, really, really great. They're one of, for me, the paperwork's not easy, but they're one of the easier government agencies to get money from when it comes to starting your business. The DTI, there's been a lot of controversy around there, and to be honest with you, I agree with most of it, but I also think it's just because you might think it might not happen doesn't mean don't apply. You need to at least know that you tried. And also,
put yourself out there.
When I started, I went to the DTI and they didn't really, they weren't willing to listen to me. However, from what I see now, they have 8 different funds for women only. So, I mean, that's a huge difference from when I went there looking for funding. So there's 8 different funds that will fund women-only businesses. So they have the money. They go and see what it is that you can get from it. Go to private investors. They are worth looking at in terms of getting people to actually, invest in your business. But understand that their interest rates are probably going to be higher. Their time in terms of paying back the money will probably be quicker than a bank would. But they could also give you more leeway in terms of how much money you can actually get. So,
but how do people find those private investors?
You know what? I think a lot of the time you need to go to, if you go to the, have you been to these employment exhibitions?
Yes.
A lot of the time you'll find that there's a smaller companies that are willing to invest. Email the big companies like what's this one specifically? Old Mutual. I know that they have, if you can go to most of these companies, like these investment companies, and ask them, do you have any small funds that you have funds for small investments or private investors that are looking to invest in African or South African businesses? Because there are many. And if you actually Google, there are some American funds that specifically look for African startups to invest in. So it's a case of doing research. I'll be honest with you, it's not easy to find. Also, there's a really great website that I absolutely love. I think it's absolutely amazing. I wish every one of us would use it. It's called afterschoolafrica.com. Okay,
that's afterschoolafrica.com.
Afterschoolafrica.com. If I'm wrong, please just message me so you can and you can put it up correctly. But I'm sure it's called After School. I mean, it's always open on my phone, so I just never look at the address anymore. But if you're looking for fellowships, if you're looking for scholarships, if you're looking for investors, if you're looking for jobs, even for specifically African people, go there. So you can find scholarships but they are for overseas universities. So they're from all around the world. There's scholarships from there, mostly from around the world. Investor opportunities, fellowships that you can do. I mean, you're talking about fellowships like Oprah's fellowship where you can go and apply. And she had one open. It opens every year. I think they close in October, but every year in October or September it opens. And you can apply and you go over. She takes you over for a year. She pays for absolutely everything, and you get to study there for a year. And it's a course that is specifically for African women. And you can find things like that on there. Do you know how many people I've hooked up with just saying go to this website that are sitting on
this amazing
now and studying, doing fellowships. I mean, even some of the fellowships are here. And those are things that are great. I mean, you want to be part of the Mandela Washington Fellowship. It's on there. So if you're looking for information, guys, that website is a wealth of information, like a wealth of information.
Yes, we're definitely going to share it with the students after this. I'm like, that's amazing. I mean, like, I know Google is your friend, but also knowing where to start is a good place.
I mean, and the thing is, ask questions. I think a lot of the time, especially you guys, you're a lot younger and you are a lot more vocal than we were when we were young, but you're still too scared to ask questions. And you need to ask questions. That's the only way you find things out. The worst anyone can do to you is tell you no.
That is definitely true. So I had put a question that if anyone could comment on if they had an entrepreneurial business, what would they like to start? I'm like, I just put a question out there for the people watching. They can comment later. It's just interesting to see what people are thinking. And if you took Farah's notes and are thinking of food too. Yeah, but is there anything you want to end off with? Anything you want to say, Farah?
Guys, don't stress so much in your 20s. Your 20s are for living. Worry about life in your 30s. If there's anything I wish somebody had told me, I wish they told me that. Live, enjoy, study, do what you want to do. Stop putting so much pressure on yourself. You've got the entire 30s to do that to yourself.
Yeah, and to be happy.
And to be happy. That's the main aim. Be happy. As long as you're happy, nothing else matters.
All right, thank you so much. So ending this broadcast, you can follow Farah on social media, on Twitter. We'll share our handle in the comments here if you want to see where you can find her. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.